Ever wonder how a thought just happens or how you can suddenly remember a song from years ago? Well, today we are diving deep into the secret communication network that makes it all possible. We are talking about how your brain cells, your neurons, talk to each other to create every single thought, feeling, and action you have ever had. So, just how fast are we talking? Well, get this. Now, impulses can travel at up to 120 meter per second. That's not just fast, that's faster than a cheetah running at full sprint. It's a bolt of electricity and action potential just zipping down a neuron. But, and this is the real kicker. That's right. It's not one long continuous wire. Your nervous system is made of billions of separate cells, and between every single one of them, there is a tiny microscopic gap, a little canyon. So, how in the world does this lightning fast electrical signal jump across the gap with no physical bridge? Well, this is the incredible puzzle we are going to solve. So, how do your neurons bridge this so called communication canyon? The answer is an absolutely elegant and powerful little structure called the synapse. You can think of it as the ultimate communication hub, the point where a message gets handed off from one neuron to the next flawlessly millions of times a second. And when we say this gap is microscopic, we mean it. We are talking about a space that's only 20 to 40 nanometers wide. A nanometer is a billionth of a meter. You literally can't even imagine how tiny that is. But here's the magic trick. To cross the gap, electric signal has to become a chemical signal and then turn right into electric one again on the other side. It's an amazing act of translation that happens in a flash. Alright, to really get how this works, we need to meet the key players in this little drama. Think of it like a play with a very specific cast of characters, and each one has a vital role to play in this high speed performance. It really just boils down to these three parts. First, you have got the presynaptic neuron, that's our sender. It has got the message all ready to go. Then there is the synaptic cleft, that's the gap. And finally, you have the postsynaptic neuron, the receiver, just waiting to catch that message. Sender, gap, receiver. As simple as that. So, what is this message they are sending? Well, once this signal hits the end of the line, it's not electricity anymore. It's been converted into this chemical messengers called neurotransmitters. These are the actual words of the messages, and they are stored inside the sender cell in these little bubbles called vesicles, just waiting for the command to launch. And on the other side of the gap, the receiver neuron, they have receptors. Now, the best way to think about this is like locks for very specific keys. Each neurotransmitter, our keys, has a unique shape, and it can only fit into its one perfect receptor, the lock. This is absolutely critical because it makes sure the message gets delivered to the right place and isn't misunderstood. Okay, we have met the players. Now it's showtime. Let's watch this whole thing unfold. And this isn't some clumsy handoff, it's a perfectly choreographed 6-step dance that happens faster than you can blink. And here they are. This is the stages. It all starts when the electric pulse arrives that opens up the calcium channels. Then the neurotransmitters get released. They shoot across the cleft. They bind to the receptors on the other side, and bam, a new signal is generated. Let's walk through. So it all kicks off with that electrical signal, the action potential, racing down the sender neuron. When that wave of electricity hits the very end, it acts like a key that unlocks special doors for channels that only let calcium through. And this rush of calcium into the cell That is the ultimate green light. Without it, the message stops cold. Nothing happens. Now, for my favorite part, that flood of calcium is the signal for all those little bubbles packed with neurotransmitters to rush to the edge of the cell membrane, fuse with it, and just dump their entire contents into the gap. The official term is exocytosis, but one source called it sneeze, and that is perfect. The neuron literally sneezes thousands of chemical messengers into the synaptic cleft. How cool is that? Okay, the signal is now fully chemical. These neurotransmitters molecules just float across that tiny 20 nanometer gap in no time at all. And when they reach the other side, they find their perfectly matched receptor. This is the handshake. The key slides into the lock. They bind, and that connection causes the receptor to change shape, opening up a brand new channel on the receiver neuron. So a new channel opens up. But wait, what happens next isn't always the same. And this is a really crucial point. Not all signals are meant to shoot go. Some messengers are actually designed to say stop or slow down. The synapse is where your nervous system actually makes a decision. This breaks it down perfectly. Think of it like a little angel and a little devil on the neuron's shoulder. If the message opens a channel that lets positive ions like sodium flow in, the cell gets more positive and it's more likely to fire its own signal. That's an excitatory signal, and angel saying go for it. But if the channel gets negative ions like chloride, the cell gets more negative and becomes less likely to fire. That's an inhibitory signal. The devil saying nope, hold up. And your neurons are constantly doing this math, adding up the yeses and nos to decide what to do next. Okay, the message has been delivered loud and clear, but you can't just leave those neurotransmitters hanging out in the gap. A signal that never ends would be an absolute disaster. The system has to be reset, and it has to happen almost instantly to get ready for the next signal, which might be just milliseconds behind. So, how does the brain clean up this chemical conversion so fast? It has three main cleanup crews. First, you have enzymes that just float around the cleft and break down the neurotransmitters. Second, this super efficient, the original sender neuron has these little pumps that act like vacuum cleaners, sucking the neurotransmitter back up to the recycled and used again. And finally, just diffuse and float away. This cleanup is what makes rapid fire communication possible. We have been looking at this whole process under a microscope, but let's zoom out. Why does this tiny six-step dance actually matter? Well, because everything that makes you you is happening right here. This isn't just some abstract biology. This is the bedrock of your reality. Here's a concept that might just blow your mind when you learn something new, like a new skill or a new fact. You are not really growing new brain cells, you are actually doing physically strengthening the connections, the synapses between the ones you already have. The more you use a neural pathway, the more efficient and stronger that synapse gets. This amazing ability to change is called synaptic plasticity. And this one process is underlies almost everything in your life. Your memory, that's just a network of strengthened synapses. The habit you form, good or bad, those are just really well paved synaptic highways. And think about it, chemicals like caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, and even medications for mental health, they all work by directly interacting with this process. They are changing the conversation that's happening at the synapse. This quote really says it all. This tiny gap, this microscopic communication bridge, is the fundamental building block of who you are. Every skill you have learned, every person you recognize, every memory you cherish is all encoded in the strength and patterns of these connections. So, we'll leave you with this final thought. Every single thing you do, every idea you have, every conversation you engage in is physically changing your brain one synapse at a time. You are quite literally the architect of your own neural network. So, the real question is, what connections are you choosing to build today?